How do you do? I'm Dr. Vincent Felitti, and this is Dr. Robert Anda from the CDC. We have been co-investigators in the Adverse Childhood Experiences study, and the patient that we will introduce you to in a moment illustrates a number of things that we have learned in that study. One of the things that we have learned in that study is that things that happen to people in childhood often end up being the controlling factors for their health decades later. And the way that happens is usually by their use of various substances or devices to control oftentimes horrendous amounts of bad feelings about themselves.
The patient interview that you're about to see may have relevance to several major public health issues. First, we know that smoking is the leading cause of preventable mortality in this country. And we also know that over the past several decades that smoking has declined dramatically, but in recent years has leveled off. We're now having difficulty reducing the prevalence of smoking among adults. Why is that? This patient may represent a type of patient who has a very specific reason for having difficulty quitting smoking. Specifically, smoking for some of these people may be a solution to a problem that began early in life. A second issue that's of substantial public health importance in those who are interested in adolescent health is the clustering of health behaviors, health risk behaviors among adolescents. Those behaviors being such things as violence, fighting in schools, truancy, carrying weapons, sexual behaviors, and substance abuse. As you listen to this man's history and think about his childhood background, you will see how his smoking is interrelated with multiple other behaviors, and it may provide some insight into why we see clustering of these health risk behaviors, very intense clustering of problematic adolescent behaviors in certain individuals and in certain groups.
The ACE study has provided us enormous insights into clinical practice and the problems of it, the unresolved problems of it in particular. One of the things that we have learned is the powerful effect that adverse childhood experiences have on people's adult health status decades later. And the link by which that happens is various coping devices that people use to deal with the residues of adverse childhood experiences. Smoking is one of them. Substance abuse is another. Alcohol is another, etc. Oftentimes, these materials are viewed correctly by the user, not as a problem, but as a solution.
The ACE study provides an interface between clinical medicine and public health. We know from the ACE study that adverse childhood experiences are common. And in public health, we also know that we've reached a point in time where the declines in the prevalence of smoking in this country have now tapered off and are being sustained somewhere around 1 in 4 adults. Why is that? Are there a group of people who, for some reason, have a especially difficult problem quitting smoking? The ACE study may provide some insights into that group of people. This tape may represent what should be a developing interface between what would ordinarily be considered disparate disciplines, that is, the disciplines of clinical medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics, public health, and child welfare. If the negative experiences of childhood can manifest as long-term smoking in this day and age, then perhaps it's time for these different groups of interested parties to come together to try to solve their common problems and thereby reduce the prevalence of smoking.
So what we're saying is that smoking is a problem. Yeah, big, no big news about that. We all know that. Smoking is a solution. We don't all know that. It's a very, very important idea. And what you're saying, Rob, is that smoking is also a marker for other serious problems.
Yes.
So let's go directly now to a man who's taught us a lot of the things that we're talking about. He and his wife have kindly agreed to share their experiences with with the depth of this problem. I will not introduce him by last name so as to provide him some privacy, but he understands that other people will be viewing this videotape.
I've been trying to quit smoking for about 20 years, roughly. There's no idea how many times I've tried to quit. I have tried cold turkey and every Nicorette's, patch, nicotine substitutes, cigarette substitutes. Each time the same thing happens within 24 to 72 hours, depending on how I try to quit. I will wake up in a rage, and it goes downhill from there. The only way to stop that is to start smoking cigarettes again. Using the patches that I've been able to get a hold of, I'm quite comfortable at 28 milligrams. 21, I start to get a bit antsy, and I have to use some kind of a cigarette substitute just to get the hand-to-mouth reinforcement type deal. If I get down below 21, I'm not a very nice person to be around. I spent 20 to 25 years drowning out some poor childhood experiences with drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. Gotten rid of the drugs, got rid of the alcohol. Next thing I gotta get rid of is the cigarettes. And I had no idea that the nicotine played such an important part in keeping that door closed.
In keeping the door closed too.
The memories that I've blocked out with all these years with the alcohol and the drugs.
So you see what's happening to you now as related to what happened to you decades ago.
Yep. I found a way to block the emotions and the memories.
With?
Drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. I was always considered to be a little wild, a little crazy, but always functional. And no matter what level of recreational usage I was at, I was always functional, never missed work, and didn't make mistakes. Never wound up in the gutter, none of that kind of stuff. So it was nothing more than just medicinal.
So these various substances that you were using really were used, whether it was clearly recognized or not at the moment, as sort of having a medicinal effect to tune down memories that were residual from decades earlier.
When I would feel that stress level, like anger start to build, it's time to go out and get messed up. Or just do it at home, whatever it was, go out and party. And if I do that, then it would begin to go down again and I'd be all right.
Do you have a sense for how, of those three things that you used, drugs, I'm not sure which drugs you used, the alcohol?
Mostly the amphetamine is what worked very well for me. It seems that I have an opposite reaction to many drugs. Nicotine, crystal methamphetamine, and I used to call them the dreams, benzodrine, Ovidrine, dexedrine, all those things mellowed me out. And that's what I used. I used what worked.
As well as alcohol?
Yeah, I threw in the alcohol because it would put me on a different plane. I also used to use pot, but in a combination of all three, it worked.
They all you were drowning out.
Yep, and I would function. I would function at that level, and I'd be perfectly fine.
How would you rate nicotine in its ability to drown things out?
Obviously, it's very, very useful. It's very useful because you remove it from me, and I can the pot do without. I'm drug tested now with the contracts for my job, and alcohol I've done without that. The Enderol. Once I got the Enderol, I had no desire whatsoever to drink at all. And just for grins and giggles, I tried drinking once. I had 2 margaritas and didn't like it. Didn't like the effects anymore because I wasn't trying to get rid of something. So now remove the nicotine, and that seems to be the biggest key there.
Does the Enderol drown out the experiences for you?
Go ahead.
And when you say drowning out, what are you drowning?
It's a rage. It's an endless, bottomless pit of rage.
When you're talking about rage, you're talking about big scale intensity.
Oh, very large.
Give an example.
Uh, you mean as to what I've done? Give an example. My sister and mom witnessed me pick up a 200-pound man by his skin and throw him 6 feet across the floor. Across the room, and he never touched the ground. This is what they told me. I can remember seeing this, but I was up here watching me down here do it.
So in these episodes of rage and violence, was there anything in particular that set them off?
Doesn't have to be. Nothing, it doesn't take anything, but some things will do it. It's hard to really give an example of what will do it right now, but generally it starts to come a little at a time, and it just starts to build.
I'm interested that you said before that you woke up in a rage.
Yeah, that was with no nicotine.
Yeah, that was a common pattern, as though something that was going on in your sleep was what was setting it off rather than something that was going on in the daytime.
That could be. Now, the times that I've tried going cold turkey, on the third day, there would be no nicotine left in my body because in 72 hours it's gone. And without it, it seems as though whatever emotions that blocks, it's gone. So they're just there. Now, generally when I sleep, I don't remember dreaming. I'm sure I do. I believe that everybody does, and I could be having dreams that I just don't remember. And it's been 25, 30 years of trying to keep myself down. And I've learned ways to do this.
Keep yourself down from?
The violence. I didn't want to be like my stepfather.
What was he like?
An extremely abusive, violent, drunken jerk.
So you had a pretty bad childhood.
And it wasn't the best. It was not Leave It to Beaver.
You were in the ACE study.
Yes.
And a lot of those questions that we asked in that questionnaire had a lot of meaning to them.
Yeah, they were making sense.
Can you specify some of it, please?
Between some of the questions on that and the tape that I got from you on this study, it said that some of the people who seemed to be higher at risk for problems later on in their life were those who were abused as children, which witnessed their siblings or mother abused as children. And I check yes to everything that's on there. I watched a gun held to my mother's head. I watched her be cut with a knife. I watched my father chase her around a house with a bat or a stick, throw me down the stairs, beat my sister. And those were on good days. There were worse.
Such as?
It's hard to remember a lot of them. For some reason or other, I guess they're blocked. But now that my self-medicating is gone, I'm remembering things and I really don't care to. But if I don't get rid of them, my only other option is going back on medication.
And your stepfather's an alcoholic.
Oh, he's dead. Drank himself to death.
Whatever happened to your biologic father?
Died.
How old were you?
Well, he died around 84, 85, something like that. My mom and he divorced many years before. I was around 4 or 5.
Did you see much of him when you were a kid?
They divorced when I was around somewhere between 3 and 4. And I do have some very good memories of him.
Did you see him often?
No, he worked on tugboats. So he was out quite a bit. I was, pretty young, so you don't know a lot. I just know that he was not always home.
When you were a kid, what is your recollection of how you felt about not having your father around much?
I was kind of used to him not being there because that was part of the pattern. He was there, then he was gone. And when he was home, it was fine. And then when he was gone, he was just like at work, I guess. I guess that was part of his job to be gone for a while.
And where does your mother fit into this? What role did she play?
It really doesn't, because she wasn't there. She was always at work. She was at work at night when I was home, and this is as far back as I can remember. When I was at school during the day, she was at home asleep, and when I came home, she was already gone for work.
You have sisters and brothers?
One sister.
What is her life like now?
Well, I left Rhode Island in 1980, and my sister remained. I know that she still does drink and smoke to some extent. She and my mom, I guess, have found ways of dealing with this and had the time to discuss it. It's only within the last, what would you say, year?
Mm-hmm.
Within the last year and a half, when I tried to quit smoking in earnest, that these memories have even begun to come back to me.
So since you tried to quit smoking, that's when the memories really began coming back
Yeah.
faster?
They started coming back little by little. When did you put me on the Enderall?
Probably a month, 2 months ago.
Okay, that's when they started to come back. I started waking up in the middle of the night remembering things that hell, it must have been 40 years ago these things happened. And I haven't thought of any of this.
So the Indoral helped you drink
Quit
less,
drinking. Yeah,
It
I have no
helped
desire
you-
to drink.
quit using street drugs?
Well, the street drugs I got rid of years before.
I see, okay. So the Indoral had a really useful role for you,
Sure, got rid of the booze.
but in the course of helping get rid of the booze and in the course of enabling you to switch over to the patches, you found that when you started dropping the nicotine dose below a certain level,
Mm-hmm. That opens the door.
that opens the door, making it pretty clear that the nicotine was serving a really useful
Oh,
function.
without a doubt. And since we spoke last night. Yesterday I had, was it yesterday I got those patches?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I got another 14, quantity of 14 21 milligram patches, and I threw on a 7 that I had, which gave me 28, because I'm trying to figure out where my comfort range is here. So yesterday I was quite comfortable with 28. Today I tried 21, and I'm somewhat antsy and minorly irritable. But when I begin to feel a little irritation, I just go do something.
And when you got down to 14 a week or two ago,
I went back, today is what? Today's Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
A week ago Monday was when I went to the 14 milligram. And I guess, was it Wednesday night or
Thursday.
night? Thursday night. I just lost it. And I have very little recollection of it. That's the thing, I go on the rages and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I've been told that by several people who've witnessed it. When I spoke with my sister, which I don't really remember, but I know that I have, she asked if I'm going back into the things that I used to do when I go into rages, which I just get into fights, but I didn't remember them.
what have you noticed about all of this?
Well, over the last 10 years, I've watched Brian come off of the alcohol and the drugs, and the nicotine has just been really, really hard. This time with the patches, I've been trying to pay a little bit closer attention to, how he acts. Well, this last week was when I really realized how important the nicotine is for him. By Thursday night, like he said, he was in a rage. He was looking for a fight in my house, and we have 3 teenagers, 2 of which are big boys, 17 and 15. And if one of my boys would have pushed him or hit him in any way, there would have been a huge fight in my house. And I didn't realize at that time that Brian had gone down to the 14 milligrams. So he actually moved out of the house that night. He just packed up and left. And I think he did that so he wouldn't hurt anybody, because there wasn't a confrontation. My boys stayed back. But as I was thinking about it over the weekend, I thought, gee, this just isn't, something's wrong. He didn't even look right. Even the look in his eyes, it was like, it's not Brian, it's somebody else. And so I couldn't really do anything about that till Monday when I called your office. And I spoke with Jennifer, and she said, well, you know, it could be that he has come down on his patches. Where is he at? So we called the pharmacy, and they said, well, he's down to 14 milligrams. And I said, that must be it. So she called in another prescription, and I went home that night, and I called Brian, and I said, would you please try on putting on some more patches and see if maybe that's what's happened here. He put another patch on, which brought him back up to 28 milligrams. And then he called me the next day and he said, I feel great. And he sounded great. He sounded, I could hear his voice had picked back up again. He didn't sound depressed. I have never seen Brian cry. And on Saturday, he was crying. And it was just such a big change in him. It was like not even the same person. He didn't sound alike, he didn't look right. And so that's when I realized that the nicotine really is doing something for him. And it was pretty profound for me. I had no idea that nicotine was that strong of a drug.
See, I think that's the important part of what you're saying, the use of nicotine as a so-called psychoactive drug.
I had no idea. I thought
it's a lot more profound than the usual trivial and perfunctory comments about it being addicting and so on.
Brian, can you remember the first time that you ever became violent or had a physical fight? How old you were and when that was?
With who?
Pardon me?
With a neighbor?
With anybody, with anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about 3rd, 4th grade, something like that. It was 3rd or 4th.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was probably just normal stuff. I had moved from the West Coast to the East Coast. Actually, it wasn't my choice. My parents moved.
Right.
I had to go with them. Then I went I was in one school, and my parents had moved across the street, and that put me into a different school district. There was the middle of the street was a dividing line between Charleston and Cranston. So I had to go to Cranston. And new kid in school, you know, you gotta fight your way up. And I spent my whole life fighting. I mean, if you spend a couple of seconds taking a look at my 2 hands, you see they don't look much alike. My right hand has been broken multitudes of times.
How many fights would you say you had in school as a schoolboy, say? You said starting at age...
If I didn't get into
Can you
2
guess?
a week, it was probably because I was sick.
2 a week?
Yeah, I got thrown out of school 6 times in 1 week. I got suspended twice the same day for getting into a fight.
And that started in primary school?
It started in grammar school and just kept right on going. And I didn't look for them. I never went looking for them. I just made sure that I was where they would be.
Did you have friends? Buddies in primary school?
To some extent, not really, no. No, because I was busy. I was, both, like I said, both my parents worked nights. They always worked nights. So I would have to take my sister to school in the morning and then take her home at night. And then and this was from the 4th grade, 3rd or 4th grade. I was responsible for taking care of my sister.
When's the first time you had a cigarette? Remember your first cigarette?
I actually started smoking when I was around 12 or 13. You know, when you're a teenager, you're cool. And at that point in time, it's 13 for me would have been around 61, 62. So all the movie stars smoked. I mean, everything smoked. Both my parents smoked. All the neighbors smoked. The whole family, everybody smoked. And it was just a thing that everybody did.
Did you have peers that you smoked?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
What
with
were
the
they?
exception of one, Peter Picard, kid who used to live down the street, very good athlete, and his brother Paul. Those are the only 2 that wouldn't smoke. And I remember Peter distinctly saying, "I'm not putting that junk in my lungs." And I remember my first cigarette, inhaling it, and I was coughing, gagging, choking, and puking. And I'm thinking, I don't really like this, but I have to do it because everybody else does. You know, so I just kept doing it.
Did any of your peers get into fights? Were they fighters too?
To some extent. I mean, the neighborhood that I grew up in was pretty tough. My parents moved from that one to another one, to a much nicer neighborhood. But obviously, I would gravitate towards the other areas of the city where it wasn't quite as nice. I would not be attracted to the rich kids or this, that, or the other. I was looking for the Hellraisers.
Are there a couple of people that stand out in your mind as
Yeah, they're dead
peers?
now.
As peers?
Yeah, they're either dead or in jail.
What did they die from?
Gunshot generally, or something. You know, it's one of the reasons why I left the state of Rhode Island. I could see the future just by the group.
When did you meet those people that
In high school.
in high school?
Yeah. I mean, I was a fool to believe that I wouldn't wind up the same as them.
Do you know what their families were like?
Not really. No, not really. But I would imagine, you know, just taking a guess at it, it was probably similar to mine. People generally seek their own level. And nobody ever talked about their families at all. So obviously there was something that was lacking. And if they had a good home, they would have been there. Why would they be in the streets looking for trouble? Why is a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid out getting shit-faced? There's something missing at home.
When's the first time that you used alcohol? When you say shit-faced, that's
10,
alcohol
11.
shit-faced?
Yeah. 10, 11. My old man always had booze in the house.
That
He drank constantly.
So that was before the first time you smoked?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah, I
got
was
shit-faced
drinking,
drunk before you smoked cigarettes?
When you say your old man now, you're talking about your stepfather.
Yeah.
You said yesterday that you thought there were a lot of people like you out there who were using nicotine to tune down feelings of rage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there are. One of the guys that I spoke with today said that when I was telling him about what I was dealing with, and the business that I work in as an electrician and the company that I'm working for, their specialty is the high-tech, high-voltage. It's very dangerous. You have certain sequences of operation that you never ever fail to follow your procedures, and it is almost your duty to tell your tool partner that I'm not 100%, I'm not this, and you are supposed to judge yourself. If you don't come into work hungover, you don't do this, you don't. I just, met John. I've had this problem, and I left my home last night, and I'm staying with friends. He goes, okay, fine, I'll watch your back. And he'll let me know if I'm doing something wrong, but for the most part, you don't make mistakes. You can't afford to. It's your life or somebody else's. And as we spoke, John's been trying to quit smoking for a few years. I've been bumming cigarettes from him. By the way, I cheated 3 times today. Yes, I did have 3 cigarettes. 1 Pall Mall and 2 Marlboro Lights.
I think in the context that we're talking, it would be sensible to say that you did something beneficial for yourself.
Actually, yes, because 21 milligrams is not
Yeah.
enough to keep my level comfortable.
That's right.
So what I had to do was bring my level back up again. And when I was telling John some of these things, he just looks at me and he says, Brian, you scare me from what I'm telling him, because he wants to try to quit, but he's had a lot of the same reactions. There was a guy, Roland something or other, that I worked with in New Mexico. Same problems. There's a lot of us out there. And generally where you'll find these guys are the ones that are divorced. You'll find a lot of them as professionals that are workaholics. You'll find a lot of them in the construction trade. They just go from state to state hitting the big jobs so that they can make $1,000, $1,500 a week, so they can send all that home to 2 or 3 ex-wives, pay for 2 or 3 houses they don't live in anymore, and all they do is drink and smoke cigarettes. And it's really a very miserable existence. People think it's a party. It's not a party. We're not partying anymore.
Is that what you've experienced? You're describing
Oh, yeah.
you've experienced getting the big jobs and sending your money
Oh
back?
yes, yes. No, what I was doing, I just came back. I was gone from 94 to 96 because there was no work in this town, and I had to work New Mexico, Northern California, Idaho, and that's what you do, is you get the big jobs. And I ran into guys that I've worked with in other parts of the country years ago, and the joke was, "Gee, you're still alive." I said, "Yeah, ain't it? How about that?" But they're all doing the same thing, and I'm looking at this lifestyle now differently. It's when we were all raising hell, I wonder how many of these guys had similar backgrounds doing the same thing. Because you don't abuse drugs and alcohol and cigarettes to the level that we did just because it's fun. I've partied with people and left them in the wayside and still been going on for, I mean, a normal party for me was around the clock, 3 days and 3 nights. Sandy can testify to that. Round the clock for 72 hours. No sleep, just booze, cigarettes, pot, and crystal. Never missed a day, second of work. Always got my stuff done. But that's what it took to keep me medicated. And there's a lot of us out there.
How many places are you still sending your paycheck?
Oh,
Multiple
no,
places?
I'm
Are
not
you
doing
done?
this. I don't have to do this.
I see.
All my money goes right there. But there's a lot of guys who are out there like that. And I don't think that they're lucky enough to have a wife like mine who takes the time to try to figure it out. They just divorced him. Or the guys just wound up doing something stupid and they got, they divorced him, whatever. But they just keep doing the same thing over and over. So it's different.
When was the first time that you became aware of the rage, the anger? Is that
6 or 7.
6 or 7 years old?
Yeah.
You were aware of it.
Yeah.
Your parents broke up at what age?
My mother and my real father split up around 3 or 4. My stepfather came into my life, I guess, when I was around 4, because my birthday present from him, my 5th birthday present, was a beating. And I'm not talking a spanking, I said a beating. I was told to bury my face in the pillow and not to cry. And that was my initiation, I guess you call it. Life in the big city.
Leaves a long shadow.
Leaves a long shadow. And then I guess the rage began to build at the time I was about 7. 6 or 7, I'm guessing. But you had to keep it down. Couldn't do anything about it. I can remember my mom telling him so many times, all you're doing is just making him mean. And then he'd knock her around for a while. And there's nothing you could do about that either, because you're too little. You try, but you go flying across the room. But that eventually ended.
Whatever happened to your mother?
My mom's doing fine. She's in Rhode Island. I guess she has pretty much gotten over it. My sister's gotten over it. I think it's about time I do. I just wasn't aware of it, that I was even carrying this around.
Did your mom use alcohol or drugs while you were growing up?
No. No, I guess she used to drink once in a while, but my old man was drunk for years.
Did she, when she drank, did she get drunk?
No. You know, she'd have a glass of wine or beer or something, but maybe a screwdriver. I just don't remember my mom drinking much.
Do you ever remember her being violent while you were growing up?
Not at all. My mom's a real nice person.
You said that when you answered the ACE study questionnaire, that you were surprised to realize that you were answering yes to every one of the categories except sexual abuse in childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's to the best of my knowledge, that was never any portion of anything for me. For my sister, it began, and that's when she left the house.
I see.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I was not aware of that for many years.
How do you think that affected her later in life?
It created a problem for her, but she did get past it. And I also found out later that he was sexually molesting my mother, also forcing her to do things that were against her will. And nobody had told me about it, because I would have put an end to that very quickly.
How might you have?
Well, beat him.
You were big enough then?
Oh, very much so. I took care of him once. He went to hit my sister. I stopped him. He went to hit my mother, and I just tore him apart. By then I was about 21 or 22. I was staying at their house for a brief period. Construction, you know, you go to work. I worked, say, in Maine for a while. Job is over. I'm on my way to New York to go to another job. It's maybe a 2-week in between, so rather than go get a hotel or, you know, whatever, I just stayed at my parents' house for a week or two. I'm in the bathroom shaving. My father and my sister get into some kind of an argument. My sister runs into the bathroom, and I'm still shaving, you know. And that's pretty much normal in our house, people screaming and yelling, ranting and raving and fighting going on. And my mom walked in, and he had his fist up, but he wasn't going to hit my sister. He just had his fist up for some reason or other. I could tell this. He was just threatening her with it, and then my mom grabbed his arm. He spun around. He was going to hit my mom, but he never got the opportunity. I just tore him apart. Then 4 hours later, I had to take him to the hospital. I'd broken his shoulder, cracked a couple of ribs, loosened up some teeth. And I told him if he ever touched my mother or my sister again, I'd kill him. And he knew I meant it. I showed him a little mercy. I let him live.
Have you noticed about this that you could fill in some of the details?
About the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Have a shot.
wow. I don't know. It's so overwhelming to me. This is just so, he grew up so completely different than I did. So this is just, I just take each day as it comes and try to deal with it. I guess looking back, if I was telling someone else who was in this situation, is to really pay close attention to what that person is doing, because I didn't really do that. And I think if I had been paying attention through these years as he was going through this, I would have known the cycles. Every time he would like try to quit smoking, he would do the same things. He would get really violent in the house. I would have to call the police and they would have to take him away. Or I would have to call a neighbor and they'd have to take him to a motel. And I had no idea. I guess I was just clueless as to what was going on. I was just trying to raise my kids and keep a family together. And I would like to have had some knowledge. I wished I had known more about the post-traumatic syndrome, the stuff that he went through as a child, you know, the effects, and why he was using the different drugs and stuff like that. I wish I had known then what, you know, I know now, because I think it would have helped.
That's rather a profound point, isn't it? Why people use drugs. Usually that's glossed over with some trivial comment that you use them because they're addictive.
Yeah, I never
Having
knew
an
why he used them.
understanding of
Yeah,
What really is the
yeah,
benefit of these things. I
yeah.
mean, the downside of them is self-evident. There's no need to talk about that.
Because I can use those things too. I can smoke and I can drink, but I don't necessarily continue to do it. Because I've smoked with Brian. I even started smoking cigarettes, but then I decided, I just don't really want to do this, and so it was easy. I just stopped. But I didn't need the nicotine. There was nothing in my life that I needed it for. It's the same with alcohol. I can drink at parties. I could drink if I had a bad day at work. I could come home and I could drink, and I did it for a 2-week period. I noticed that I would every day come home and drink a couple of drinks, and I thought, this is becoming a habit. I don't like it, so I just stopped. And it makes him mad that I can do that. He says, I can't believe you can pick up and have a cigarette in the morning and never have another one for a week. But I used to think it was having an addictive personality, but I don't think it's really that much anymore. I think it's more, like he said, he's trying to get rid of something or medicate himself to where he used to cruise. He used to just get on this level with the alcohol and the drugs and the cigarette, and he would actually have himself set up for the weekend. He would have a cooler full of beer, he'd have his crystal, and he'd have his cigarettes, and he would cruise. And that's when he was the happiest. He was in this state of just like that. And he got along with the family. He was great with my kids. Nothing bothered him. And so I just said, well, I guess that's just the way it's going to be.
And I worked in a house.
But now, I'm like, gosh, I kind of liked it better before, although I know I don't want him doing those things, but I'm having a really hard time, dealing with all this also. I'm not really sure what to do. I'm just trying to be real supportive, but at the same time, it's not my problem, really. I mean, I have to take care of myself also. So this weekend has been a big eye-opener for me. Really big eye-opener.
So you must see something really good in him, too, on the one hand.
Oh, yeah.
Please, on the other hand, still be...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not stupid. I wouldn't stay with somebody that, didn't have a lot of potential. And Brian treats me very well. Brian has never hit me. He's never abused me in any way. He's very good to me. He was a little abusive over the weekend, which is not like him, and that's what really made me think something's really going on here. He's a very intelligent person. He works really hard. He has a lot to offer, and I really, really care about him. And I don't give up. Unless there was abuse, if there was abuse to the point where my kids were being really hurt or I was being hurt, then I would say it's over. I couldn't keep going. But no, I think that Brian's going to get through this. And I told him on the way over here, I said, I don't want you to go through all of this and, us get a divorce, you leave and some other woman get you. I want you when you're done. And he is going to make it through this. I know he will, because he's persistent.